Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can share something about the Bhagavad Gita today. Shruti is not there yet. Actually, let me just remind her. 1 second. No, she. And today we wanted to look at. Today we wanted to look at the seventh chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and quick summary of what we've done so far. Now, the main theme of the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita is it's Karma Yoga. There's 3 themes in the Bhagavad Gita: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. So the first 6 chapters are regarded to be Karma Yoga, the main themes. And then the next 6 chapters in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita is Bhakti Yoga. And then the final 6 chapters are regarded to be Jnana Yoga. So the first chapter, we are aware what happened. Krishna's main man, Arjun, didn't want to fight. There was weakness of heart. And he gave many reasons why not to fight, not to do his duty, and to retire, perhaps to the forest. And he gave many good reasons, actually. However, in the second chapter, he realized that this is much bigger. This problem is much bigger than he thought. And he took shelter of Krishna. He asked Krishna, what do I do? I'm really confused. What can I do? What should I do? So Krishna immediately gave him a spiritual basis to work with. That was that you are not this body, but you are the spirit soul, the Atma. This body is the outer covering, just like the clothes that one wears. It's an outer covering. And inside the clothes is the person. So inside the body is the soul. And the soul is the real identity of who we are. So that was a really important lesson he gave him. And then he talked about the duties of a human being, a person. There's 2 types of duties, the eternal duty and the temporary duty. Temporary duty depends on the body we have. Eternal duty is that we're a servant of Krishna. And then he also, in the second chapter, describes about how a person who knows about his spiritual identity, how does he behave? How does he behave? What are his duties? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? Many different points are made. And then the third chapter, Krishna describes about karma yoga, duty. One can do one's duty with attachment to or detachment to the fruits of labor, to set an example. And that way one avoids sinful activity. So when we work, if we're attached to the fruits, that means we're going to be bound to this world. But if we are detached, then we will be actually not committing any sins, and we will be on the path of karma yoga. Then in the 4th chapter, Krishna talks about how knowledge is passed down. His mission on earth, and his mission on earth is to reclaim us, is to take us back to the spiritual world, connect us again with himself. That's why he comes to this world. He wants us back in his world. And he describes in the 4th chapter different types of actions and ways of acquiring knowledge through the spiritual guru. 5th chapter, he talks about karma yoga again, but in a little bit more detail, and connects it to himself. When somebody does karma yoga, they act They do their work without attachment, but they offer it to Krishna. They offer it to the Lord. That result is offered to the Lord. That becomes karma yoga in Krishna consciousness. And the effect of that is that it makes one very peaceful, very peaceful. We see things with equal vision. And then finally, sixth chapter, which was what we discussed last week, Krishna explains about the mind and how mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. If it's uncontrolled, worst enemy. If it's controlled, it's our best friend. And he also describes, because Arjuna wanted to go to the forest, so Krishna describes Astanga Yoga, what he has to do in the forest. And that shocked Arjuna, woke him up actually. He really woke him up. It's another different sort of view of the first 6 chapters. It's a problem that we all have, a basic problem, which is we identify with this body. So it's a misidentification. We're thinking we're this body, which is what Arjuna was thinking. But actually we are spiritual beings and we are having a human experience. But at the moment we are behaving like humans, having a spiritual experience. I don't know if you can understand the difference. We're actually souls having a human horrible experience. But we are thinking that we are humans enjoying a spiritual experience through reading the Bhagavad Gita. So our consciousness has to change. This is the purpose of the Gita. And this is why we struggle in this world, because our consciousness is not on this level. It's not on this level that we are a spirit soul having a human experience. So how can this be addressed? By reviving our original consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness, our original way of thinking. And that can be established by connecting with God. How do we connect with God? There's many different systems. Karma yoga is one. Bhakti yoga is the main one. So Arjun's problem was whether to act or not. Shall I do or do not do? He was thinking by not doing is better. But Krishna explained to him, actually, action means it can't just be renounced. Action must be done. You must do something. You have to act. Everybody has to act in this world. So, and if we renounce the fruits of our action, then that is actually very good. That becomes sinless action. And finally, Krishna then gives him another option. Action with renunciation. So you act, but you're not attached to the fruits. And Krishna, Arjuna, we noticed he asked so many questions in the third chapter, in the fifth chapter, and finally the penny drops in the sixth chapter. He realizes, okay, what I've been looking for is the wrong place. And then Krishna now, in the seventh chapter, gives him knowledge about himself. So this is all about Bhakti Yoga now. Karma Yoga is where we employ our senses to connect with the Lord, our different senses, hands, legs, eyes, ears, etc. Astanga Yoga is where we connect the mind to the Lord. That's what he described in the sixth chapter. Gyan Yoga is where we try to get our intelligence connected to the Lord. That's the fourth chapter. Now, this next 6 chapters focus on Bhakti Yoga, where we want to connect everything to the Lord. Our senses, our mentality, our intellect, our emotions, our heart to the Lord. Why? We want to develop love for him. And how do we do this? Krishna explains. He explains that how we can find him in this world, how to cross beyond this world, and how the effects of worshipping him. There's 4 themes in this chapter. First is, how do you begin? Hearing. Hearing is the most important process of bhakti. We hear bhajans, we hear Bhagavad Gita. This is how we wake up. When there's a robber in the house, you can't see him, he's too dark, but you can hear him. That's how you find out. So hearing is very, very important. And we've been robbed of our true nature by Maya. It's time to wake up, hear the call of the Lord. So Krishna also, the second theme is Krishna gives a sense of where he is in this world. And he also explains that everything rests in him, just like pearls which are strung in a necklace. So, and then he describes the types of people who don't approach him, those who approach him. We'll see that a little later. And what is the impact of devatas and worshipping devatas compared to worshipping him? So we're very fortunate to have Shruti today, and Puna Mataji is also with us, so it's amazing. Two Sanskrit, I'm feeling the heat already, two Sanskrit scholars. So I wanted to ask Shruti to read the first, not many verses in the beginning. Let's have a look how many. First one is only 3 verses, and then we come to the first theme. So, and who'd like to read the English translation? Any volunteers?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yeah. Malini, you can read, yes. Okay, so Shruti, you ready?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri
We can't hear you.
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
I think you might have to go out and come back in, maybe.
Am I audible now?
We can hear you.
We still can't hear you.
Hare Krishna, I can hear her properly. Maybe, I don't know, your device.
Maybe leave and then come back in.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll do that.
Okay. Anyway, we can start. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Maya Shakta Manaha Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamsayam Samagramam Yatha Gyasya Shri Takshanu. So would you like to read the English?
Yes, Prabhu. Hari.
Yeah.
Yes, Hari Bol, everybody. The Supreme Personality of God.
Okay, maybe it's a problem on our side, huh?
I'm back, Prabhuji.
Can everybody else hear Shruti? Just do a nod or something.
Yes,
We can hear her, yes.
And here.
It's
our side. Okay. Okay. Just bear with us. We'll just sort out.
Yes.
Now we can hear. Shruti?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So the problem was on our side, right?
Must be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can recite this verse.
No. You do start the invocation for this chapter.
Do the invocation, yes.
Thank you, Shruti.
Yes, Prabhuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Saptamodhyayah. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Maya Saktamanah Partha. Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah. Asamshayam Samagram Mam. Yatha Jnasyasi Tachrunu.
Okay.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pratha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt."
Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamyasheshatah yatnyatva neha bhuyonyat jnatavyam avashishyate.
I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know.
Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye यत्ततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः.
Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So the first 3 verses. Now let me just share the screen, and there we are. Okay, good. So first 3 verses, Krishna wants us to know him, and although it is difficult, so difficult that hardly anyone can know him, however, through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, the Lord says that we can indeed know him in full. And the beginning process is by hearing about him. So engaging, the lesson to learn from these 3 verses is we have to start to engage in these 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga, which starts with hearing. And that will take us closer to Krishna. So what are these 9 things? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevamanam, Achanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. So the beginning is Shravanam. This verse comes from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, very important devotee of the Lord, of Lord Nrsimhadev. So there's 9 processes. Hearing is one. And the person who perfected himself by hearing, just by hearing, was Parikshit Maharaj. He just heard the Bhagavatam, he became perfect. Kirtanam Vishnu, singing about God. Kirtan, chanting. And Sukadev Goswami, he became perfect by chanting the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. Then the next one, Smaranam, remembering God. So we can combine all of these. We can hear about God, we can sing about God, we can remember God. And who perfected himself by remembering about God? Prahlad Maharaj. Next is Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam. And that is worshipping or serving the lotus feet, Pada, of the Lord. So we can serve the deities of the Lord. Archanam. And that's Lakshmi Devi, perfected her life in that way. Then there's Archanam, that is deity worship. Prithu Maharaj, he perfected himself by doing wonderful, glorious worship of the deities. Vandanam, prayers. And Akrur, he perfected his life by praying to Krishna. Dasyam, and the most important Das of the Lord is Hanuman. He perfected his life by becoming a servant of the Lord. Sakyam, Arjun, was perfection of friendship. And Atma Nivedanam, giving everything to the Lord. That's Bali Maharaj. So it all starts with hearing. So it's very nice when we hear lectures, when we hear kirtans, it actually cleanses the heart. And it's the beginning. And Krishna also recommends, just hear about me. In that way, you will come closer to me through Bhakti Yoga. And this is just what I just said, but in a different format. And I'll share these so that you can have a copy. Okay, so let's go to the... Oh yeah, good point. So next is how many verses? Up to verse number 12. Yeah. So who'd like to read in English?
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Okay, so yeah, both you can do. So first, maybe first 5 you do, Kaushalya.
Okay, Prabhuji.
And then, oh, is that Shaivi? Oh,
Shaivi.
yeah, great. Okay. So, Shruti, you can read number 4. Thank you.
भूमिरापो नलो वायुः खं मनो बुद्धिरेव च अहंकार इति यं मे भिन्ना प्रकृतिरष्टधा.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies.
अपरेयमितस्त्वन्यां प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे परां जीवभूतां महाबाहो ययेदं धार्यते जगत्.
Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature.
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि सर्वाणीत्युपधारय अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा.
All created beings have their sources in these 2 natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and the dissolution.
मत्तः परतरं नान्यत् किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोतं स्तोत्रे मणिगणा इव.
O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread.
रसोऽहमप्सु कौन्तेय प्रभास्मि शशिसूर्ययोः प्रणवः सर्ववेदेषु शब्दः खे पौरुषं नृषु.
O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. The syllable Om is the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in the man.
पुण्यो गन्धः पृथिव्यां च तेजश्चास्मि विभावसौ जीवनं सर्वभूतेषु तपश्चास्मि तपस्विषु.
I am the original fragrance on the earth, of the earth, and I am the heat in fire. I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penance of all assets.
Okay, Shavi was going to do a few, but I tell you what, Shavi, you can do the whole next section, huh? Okay, carry on, Shruti and also Kaushalya.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
बीजं मां सर्वभूतानां विद्धि पार्थ सनातनं बुद्धिर्बुद्धिमताम् अस्मि तेजस्तेजस्विनाम् अहम्.
O son of Pratha, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men.
बलं बलवतां चाहं कामरागविवर्जितं धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोऽस्मि भरतर्षभ.
I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passions and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna.
ये चैव सात्विका भावा राजसास्तामसाश्च ये मत्त एवेति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि.
Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am in one sense everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes.
Oh, was that-
Something gone funny,
Oh.
Prabhuji.
Just 1 second. Yeah, carry on.
But I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are within me.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this is a very interesting part, as they all are, but this one is where many people say, show me God, show me God. I will only believe if I can see him. Right? Very common argument that we find children also have sometimes in schools, and adults definitely have. I can't see him, so he doesn't exist. So Krishna explains that actually the analogy of the pearls strung on a thread is very appropriate. The pearls are perfectly strung and arranged like a necklace, while the thread remains completely invisible. So we are seeing this world, beautiful arrangement everywhere, just like the pearls in the necklace, but you can't see the string. So in the same way, you can't see Krishna because he is leaving everything together. He's putting everything together. He's the invisible aspect of the creation. He designs, he creates, he sustains the entire, yet because of his humility, he remains invisible to the immature observer. So those people who say, if I can't see God, I won't believe in him, that's actually a little bit foolish, because actually, can you see air? No, we can't see air. So does that mean air does not exist? That's a foolish argument. Air does exist because we're breathing. So in the same way, we can feel the presence of God in his creation because we see the wonderful order in this creation. You don't see planets crashing into each other. You see the sun rise and set every day, the moon also in the same way. So all of this indicates that there is an ultimate creator, ultimate hand behind creation. And if somebody says, if I can't see God, I don't believe in him, then that doesn't make that much sense, because our senses are not perfect. We make so many mistakes. We can't see what is beyond a certain wall behind me. I can't see. That means we are limited in our capacity to understand. So we actually look through different channels if we want to understand spirituality. There's 3 channels: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Guru is the spiritual master, Sadhu, the devotee, and Shastra is the scripture. So here we are looking through the eyes of scripture, and we are able to understand God through those scriptures because God is himself speaking. The extreme intricacy and sophistication of the creation, however, naturally indicates the presence of higher intelligence. Krishna further explains, he is the essence of everything within the creation: the taste of water, the light of the sun, the ability in man. In this way, through the eyes of knowledge, through the eyes of scripture, one can learn to see God everywhere. This is the point. Somebody may say, I can't see God, so I won't be, but actually the position is we should be able to see God everywhere. This is very important to understand. So what's the lesson to take from this one? A very practical lesson, because in one of the verses, I can't remember which number now, he says, Rasoam apsu. Every time we drink water, we can remember this. Rasoam apsu. Number 11, text number 11. Thank you. I am the taste in water. That way, we are reminded of Krishna even doing simple, ordinary activity. And this is the whole idea. We should try to remember Krishna at every step. And that's a little difficult for us because we've been used to a life of not remembering God, but just remembering what we want and what we need. But when we convert that into trying to remember God, that becomes Bhakti Yoga. And a very practical way, anytime you drink water, just remember, even if you don't remember the Sanskrit, remember the English. I am the taste in water. So the Krishna is the taste in water. And the Sanskrit is very easy. Raso, actually, Shruti, you can explain this one. Those 3 words.
Okay, so I'm using my limited knowledge of Sanskrit. So yeah, rasa in general refers to something that flows, a liquid. But in this context, the Lord gives the example of water. Kaunteya, of course, he's speaking to Arjun. So and referring to him as the son of Kunti. So he addresses him as Kaunteya. Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayo. Shashi meaning the moon, Surya meaning the sun. So the Lord emphasizes that he is the light in the sun and the moon. Pranava refers to the syllable Om, Pranava mantra. So the Lord emphasizes that he is the very essence of the syllable Om amongst all the mantras in the Vedic scriptures. And the last one, I am not familiar with this. Let me be honest. Okay, K is ether. Okay, that's something new that I've learned. Paucham, Nrishu. Okay. In Prabhuji, could I have a look at the translation, please?
Oh, yes,
Just
yes,
go
yes.
up,
It's the
go up.
ability in man.
No,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The ability. I am the sound in ether and the ability in man. Okay.
Thank you. So this is the critical 3 words. Rasoaham apsu. I am the taste.
That means taste. Okay, I made a mistake there. Yeah.
No. That's okay. Very good. It's always nice to hear you. And Shruti, I must tell everybody, she on Wednesdays teaches the verses, and amazingly, I can't actually believe this, but we're halfway through the 12th chapter, isn't it? 10 verses have been memorized.
Yes, 10 verses of chapter 12. We have done it together.
Amazing, amazing.
It's an honor always.
Well done. You've added so much value to the lives of so many people. So thank you so much. So,
Blessing.
so whenever we drink water, try to remember these 3 words. Raso, taste. Aham, I, that's Krishna. Apsu, I am the taste in water. I am the taste in water. So, apsu means water. I, aham, and raso, taste. Raso, aham, apsu. Try to remember that. Every time you drink water, he'll become pleased with you. Okay, yes, number 13.
And then
Shaivi?
Shaivi can read the translations now.
Okay.
Okay. May I proceed, Prabhuji?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैः एभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परम् अव्ययम्.
Deluded by the 3 modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible.
दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायाम् एतां तरन्ति ते.
This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhamah mayaya pahritatjnana asuram bhavam ashrita.
Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritinojjuna atu jitnyasurartharthi jnani cha bharatarshava.
The best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute.
Tesham jnani nityayukta ekabhaktirvishishyate priyo hi jnaninotyartham aham sacha mama priyah.
Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me.
Udara sarva evaite jnani tvatmaiva me matam asthita sahi yuktatma mamevan uttamam gatim.
All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal.
Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha.
After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare.
Yay, Shavi, that was amazing. It's so nice to hear your voice. You got such a nice style of reciting. Thank you so much. What a combination, eh? Shruti and Shavi. So, really interesting, really interesting section of the Bhagavad Gita. If God can be perceived everywhere, and his existence is so strikingly obvious, why is there wholesale denial of him? The vast majority of this world, they don't believe in God. So how's that happen? Okay, Krishna actually, he gives everybody free will. He gives us a choice. He gives us a choice to remember him or to forget him. He describes 4 types of people who are foolish, who reject God due to their preoccupation in worldly life. They're grossly foolish, the lowest of mankind. They're full of illusion, and they have this atheistic nature against God. These are the 4 types of people who reject God. But he also describes the 4 types of people who accept God. And they accept him with different levels of faith. One is wants wealth, he's very poor. My dear Lord, please give me some money. One who is distressed, oh, so much pressure. Please relieve me of this pressure. He goes to God. One who is inquisitive, he just wants to know about everything. And one of the subjects is God, just happens to be one of the subjects. He approaches God as well. Now, the last one, the final one, is one who's actually looking for the truth. Oopsie, sorry about that. One who is actually looking for the truth. So one who is looking for the truth is regarded to be the best of them all. But Krishna, he calls all of them magnanimous, udhara. He calls them udhara, magnanimous, all of them. Even if we want something from Krishna, at least we want it from Krishna. And he appreciates that. At least my son, my daughter has come to me to ask for this. He becomes so happy. It is a rare soul in this world who is able to approach God free of any ulterior motives. That's really, really rare. Generally, people want money from him or help somehow. But this person, seeker of knowledge, one who has no motive, even actually doesn't have the motive to learn more. He's just completely free from any agendas. That soul is very rare. And that person can enter into a selfless relationship of love. That level of spiritual purity, Krishna says, may take thousands of births. So this was a really important verse, actually. The last verse that Shruti and Shevi read. Let's just go back into that. Very, very important verse. After many, many births, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing Krishna to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul, very rare. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanam papadyate vasudeva sarva iti sa mahatma sadurlabha. Beautiful verse. And we have to treasure this verse because we actually, by some great, great, great fortune, have fallen into the lap of Krishna. And this is very rare. Human life is rare, let alone bhakti. It's even more rarer, one who has surrendered to the Lord. So let's be grateful that the Lord has allowed us to perform bhakti and make the most of our great fortune. This is our treasure. We protect our treasure, right? We put our gold in the safe or in the bank or somewhere where thieves can't take it. So, but much, much more valuable than any material possession is this possession of bhakti, that we can connect with the Supreme Lord. So we have to protect that. How do we protect it? What can destroy it? Bhakti can be destroyed by committing offenses, becoming horrible, nasty, especially by saying bad things about devotees of God. That doesn't help. That's really bad. So we protect it by being very careful. Being very careful. Don't be rude, don't be unkind. And in that way, we try to keep increasing our level of bhakti. So human life is rare, but even rarer is one who performs devotion. So we are very lucky, very, very fortunate. We're trying to do something. So now there is this Bhakti Lata Bij, but I don't really want to go into it because it's going to take a long time. But basically, this explains how the seed of devotion is planted in our heart and it grows it grows so much with nice watering of chanting and hearing. But at the same time, weeds will grow. And we have Ankit here. He knows about how to get rid of weeds in the garden. But sometimes the weeds look like just like the plant. You can't tell the difference. So when we do bhakti, sometimes the weeds also come. Arrogance, pride. Hey, I am serving God. Ankit, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Right. Share something.
I was going to say that, yeah, absolutely. They, these weeds, they get in the way of the things the seeds that we are trying to grow. Those good seeds, those seeds that lead us away from the arrogance, ignorance, away from passion. And sometimes once these seeds of these weeds are planted, it can be very difficult to remove them. And this is the suffering that we come here to learn to overcome, I think. And we can take the arrogance and the ignorance and the passion within ourselves and turn it around, and identifying it within us, and allowing the other seeds to grow, and watering those seeds.
We just lost him.
Oh, yeah, no, I was saying that's what I draw from this analogy, from this lesson.
The beauty of this seed, this plant is it grows. We carefully, like very important plants, you protect them with perhaps put some protective things around them so they grow nicely. You put some sticks and you tie them and they grow nicely up high. The Bhakti Lata Beach is the same. We enhance our bhakti by listening to lectures by nice devotees. We chant with devotees, we chant nicely. And slowly, this Bhakti Lata Beach, it grows, this plant grows, and it grows through different areas. Vajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakta, Bhava. And then finally, it goes into prema, love of God. This takes quite some time to go through, so we won't do that today, but another time we might be able to do this. Very important to understand, how do we grow this plant carefully so that we become fully God conscious at some point.
Yeah, it's very important, and what's underground is as important as what you see growing up above ground. And we take the analogy of an iceberg, and you look at an iceberg, how much of it is underneath the water, how much of it is there to learn about the iceberg, and what does it hold. It's the same with the plants and the roots of any plant. A plant will always grow roots that will allow it to stand up, and then it will grow roots that will allow it to continue on its journey upwards towards this Brahma.
That's a nice point, actually. So those roots, that foundation has to be very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very nice point. Thank you for sharing that. Very good.
Hare Krishna.
Anyway, we'll do this another time. But this is where we want to be, prema, if we can. Okay, so now I think it's the last 11 verses. So yeah, Indulekamaji, you can do 5, and maybe Ankit can do 5 or 6 or whatever.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, yes.
Okay, good. Hare Krishna, Shruti.
Hare Krishna. Okay. कामैस्तैस्तैर्हृतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्ते न्यदेवताः तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियताः स्वया.
Hare Krishna. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desire surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulation of worship according to their. Can you read the Prabhuji? I cannot see. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. According to their own natures. Hare Krishna.
यो यो यां तनुं भक्तः श्रद्धयार्चितुम् इच्छति तस्य तस्याचलां श्रद्धां ताम् एव विदधाम्यहम्.
Sorry.
21. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, Indulekha Mataji, that's the translation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his face steady so that he can devote himself to this particular deity.
सतया श्रद्धया युक्तः तस्याराधनम् ईहते लभते च ततः कामान् मयैव विहितान् हितान्.
Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone.
अन्तवत्तु फलं तेषां तद्भवत्यल्पमेधसां देवान् देवयजो यान्ति मद्भक्ता यान्ति माम् अपि.
Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet.
So this is quite an important verse to remember. Often we see our community, they will worship the different devatas, perhaps thinking that the devatas are perhaps supreme, or understanding that they are not supreme, but they still want to obtain wealth and other things from the devatas. Well, the danger is that if one worships the devatas, one gets their fruits, which are temporary and limited. And one also will end up possibly in the planets of the devatas. But Krishna is very clear here. He's saying, my devotees, they will reach my supreme planet. So sometimes this is really badly misunderstood. But Gita is very clear. Krishna is very clear about who should be worshipped. So, okay.
अव्यक्तं व्यक्तिमापन्नं मन्यन्ते माम् अबुद्धयः परं भावमजानन्तो ममाव्ययम् अनुत्तमम्.
Intelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme.
So Ankit, if you like, you can read.
Sure, Hare Krishna. Sure, Prabhuji.
नाहं प्रकाशः सर्वस्य योगमाया समावृतः मूढो नाभिजानाति लोको माम् अजम् अव्ययम्.
I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible.
वेदाहं समतीतानि वर्तमानानि चार्जुन भविष्याणि च भूतानि मां तु वेद न कश्चन.
O Arjun, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all the things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows.
इच्छाद्वेषसमुत्थेन द्वन्द्वमोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप.
O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate.
येषां त्वन्तगतं पापं जनानां पुण्यकर्मणां ते द्वन्द्वमोहनिर्मुक्ता भजन्ते मां दृढव्रताः.
Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination.
जरामरणमोक्षाय माम् आश्रित्य यतन्ति ये ते ब्रह्म तद्विदुः कृत्स्नम् अध्यात्मं कर्म चाखिलम्.
Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities.
साधिभूताधिदैवं मां साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां ते विदुर्युक्तचेतसः. ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानविज्ञानयोगो नाम सप्तमोऽध्यायः.
Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestations of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Hare Krishna. Jai.
Thank you so much. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. 7th canto ki jai. 7th chapter. So, this last final part is a little bit involved because Krishna is describing how he can be distinguished from everybody else in terms of worshipping, and he doesn't pull any punches. So let's just analyze what he's saying. Krishna establishes monotheism in one sense, one God. Sometimes in Hinduism, often the misconception is there's many gods, but actually it's a little bit more intricate than monotheism. And I'm going to give you something now which is probably going to blow most people's minds, but just bear with me, and excuse me if it's a little bit involved, but I really like this because it describes our religious system so beautifully. So he distinguishes the demigods as powerful entities in charge of universal affairs. So these demigods are very powerful, but they're not God. We have to understand. They're not equal to God in any way, shape, or form. Actually, Sanatan Dharma, which is what we're following, is multifaceted. It means there's much more than just what the eye sees. Right? The system of worship can be regarded as, now this is where the complicated bit is, and I'll explain this. It's multi-layered, polymorphic, bimonotheism. So this monotheism, the actual reality, according to the scriptures, is it's multi-layered. There's many different personalities involved, including the devatas. It's polymorphic because there's many forms of Krishna. Vishnu is included. And by monotheism, there's Radha and Krishna, not just Krishna. So let's explain that a little bit more. Multi-layered means that there are devatas who can be worshipped for temporary gains, but it's not recommended by Krishna. It's polymorphic, which means that Krishna has many expansions, avatars. Mach, Kach, Varaha, Nasing, Vaman, Pashuram, Ram, Krishna, Balaram, Bauddha, Kalki, Dasavatar. By monotheism means God has a divine couple. He's one, Krishna, but there's two of them. Radha Krishna, that means by monotheism. So it's a little involved, this definition of Sanatana Dharma. It's one supreme soul manifested in two forms. So this explains a little bit better of what our belief system is. It's not just monotheism, and it's definitely not pluralism. It's not, we're not into many, many gods. There's actually only one God. But we have to understand that there are devatas who can be worshipped, although not recommended. There are expansions of Krishna who it is very acceptable to worship. But also that ultimate form is not just one, it's a divine couple of Radha and Krishna. So the lesson to take from this is that our worship is exclusively meant for Krishna and his expansions, like the Vishnu avatars. The demigods, the devatas, are his servants whom we must respect, but no need to worship them. It doesn't mean we insult them. No, we respect them. But the worship is exclusive for Krishna. So I wanted to end there and ask if there are any questions. This last bit is a little bit involved. Apologies for that. But it just gives you a more, hopefully better understanding of our system of belief. Any questions or any comments or any realizations you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I think it's, we grow up in life and we are drowned in this maya of we should achieve these riches and these positions and these things. And so we offer our worship towards the devatas. And it's very important to take this lesson from Krishna that he says that, it's you don't need to do this. Achieving those riches, those possessions, those are not the things that you are here to do. It is something you can do, but the ultimate goal is to attain me. And so focus your attention upon me. But for those of you that are still on the journey, those of you that may not have become as realized, the devatas are there to serve my instructions upon you. But ultimately, everything is Krishna's will.
Yeah, good understanding. Good understanding.
And, it's even when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Radha Mata is we must obtain her love and attention before we will fully be allowed to be absorbed in the Maha Mantra. And it's a very similar explanation here, that we must chant and be very attentive in everything that we do, from our chanting to our actions, to the things that we are trying to achieve.
Yes, well put. Thank you so much. Yeah. And sometimes it's a cultural thing, there's family traditions that have an impact on how we believe and how we behave and how we worship. So that can have quite a huge impact on our belief system. And what Krishna is doing here is really resetting it. If our system is not quite in line with, the best method of worship. So Krishna is very kind. He's giving us a nice roadmap into how to really develop a system of belief, a worship system that will reunite us with him. And that's what he wants. Yes, Purnamaji.
Bimal here. Sorry, Prabhuji.
Well,
You mentioned about Das avatar as an extension of Krishna.
yeah.
One of the avatar is Krishna himself.
No, it's actually Balaram. Much Kachvaras, Singh Vaman Pashuram Ram, Krishna Balaram. We say Krishna, but actually it's Balaram. We say Krishna, we put Krishna in everything. But it's actually Balaram. He's the avatar. But I know it's a very common, in fact, we just had that question put to us or comment made to us that Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu. And often that is the common belief within Sanatana Dharma. And generally that arises because when Krishna came to this world, first he appeared as Vishnu. And Vishnu then turned into little baby Krishna. So it's almost a it just sort of flows that obviously Krishna must be an incarnation of Vishnu, because Vishnu came first and then Krishna was born, transformed Vishnu transformed into Krishna. But actually the scriptures describe it differently. And the scriptures I'm talking about are the Bhagavad Gita itself, but secondly, the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, the Brahma Samhita. These scriptures are regarded to be the best amongst all the scriptures, and they describe the position of Krishna, that he actually is Ishwara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Nadhiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the original Godhead, Sarva Karana Karanam, source of all the incarnations. And it says, Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam means that Krishna is the original God from whom everybody else comes. So these are things which are interesting, very interesting.
Also, you'd always think that, God is someone that you have to worship, and also, he's great. So how can you take Krishna as God? Because Krishna is, crooked and, all these things that you wouldn't think that's the qualities of God. So that's, again, people would think, okay, Vishnu, Krishna comes from Vishnu, as well.
Mm. But actually the description is given that Govindam Adi Purusham Tamham Bhajam. Govindam is the Adi Purush, the original Godhead. Adi Purush. Purush means the enjoyer, the Adi, original enjoyer. Govindam Adi Purusham. Tam Aham Bhajami. Brahma says, I worship that Govindam. So, but it is a very, I would say probably 90% of the Hindu community will have that belief that Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. Actually, it's the other way around. And to change that point of view is not easy, because one's brought up with that. But the scriptures are what we go by. And now, of course, we are trying to open a Sanatana Dharma Mandir. And this question is going to be very foremost in not just the minds of those who are going to be worshiping, and also how we are going to be able to present this in a way which doesn't create conflict and division. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
Prabhu, I was just
Hare Krishna.
No, go on. And
I was just going to say, I was sitting here talking to Shivani, my wife, and she said that she read somewhere that Vishnu is a formal expansion of Sri Krishna. The form that we see, the authoritative form that we see, the enjoyer, but he is a formal expansion, and it is. And I don't know, can you shed any light on that? Yeah.
Prabhupada actually gave the explanation of how we can view Vishnu and Krishna in different ways. Krishna is the God in the office.
At home.
Sorry, Vishnu. Vishnu is the God in the office. And Krishna is the God at home. So, for example, Lord Vishnu, his worship is very formal, as you said. You can't jump on his back and whip him with a stick, for example, because he's Vishnu. He's worshipped with awe and reverence. He's the Lord in the office. But Krishna, if you didn't get on his back and whip him, he'd think, hey, what's going on here? He'd say to the Gopas, you're gone soft or something. Come on, let's have a fight. Krishna is the Lord at home. He's very informal. His worship, if you take a arti towards him, he'll be thinking, what's going on here? What are you doing arti to? I'm only a little cowherd boy. So he actually hides his divinity so that he gets the best out of his devotees. They treat him like an ordinary person, but of course, they treat him with such intense love and affection. They don't believe he's God. They're just his beloved friend. But he enjoys that treatment, that love that he gets from his devotees much, much more than any worship that is offered to him as Vishnu. So I don't know if that's what you were indicating, but this is the explanation about the formal worship of the Supreme Absolute and the informal worship of the Supreme Absolute. And the informal worship is considered far greater in terms of devotional quality and pleasing to the Lord than the formal relationship that the devotee may have with the Lord. Does that make sense, Ankit?
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think you look at that impersonal form, and you see, even between you and I, or any two people in this world, when each treat each other with love, that relationship can be very fruitful for both. And this is how Krishna approaches us, in a very loving mood.
Yeah.
And in that way, we can only reciprocate or in that same way, because we feel that that connection, that transcendental connection.
Yeah. So the Lord in the office, your relationship is there with your colleagues. It's a formal relationship. But at home, when you come home, if your wife calls you Mr. Vyas, you'll be thinking, hey, what's going on here? What's she done? What's she after? And your children call you Sir, then they've done something wrong and you're going to have to check them out. But when you come home, they'll be calling you Dad or Pitaji, or your Shivani will have I'm sure she has a nickname for you. And when you hear those nicknames, you feel very happy. And similarly at work, they'll call you if they call you by your nickname, you'll be thinking, what's going on here, So Vishnu is the same, He's very formally addressed in Vaikuntha, but in Golok, they call him Makanchor, butter thief, Damodar, one who was tied by the rope. All these are very insulting names, but Krishna finds them very tasteful. He likes those names.
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
Prabhupada gave an example as well of Prime Minister Gladstone. One time, one man was visiting him in his office, and the secretary said, "He's busy. He's very busy." And then later they realized that actually he was busy. He was busy playing with his grandson, who was on his back, and he was on the floor with the grandson on his back. So this is the relationship. The Prime Minister, he has a formal relationship, and then he has an informal. Of course, the informal is much more enjoyable to him. So, Indulekha Maji, did you have anything you wanted to?
Hare Krishna, yes. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you very much. As usual, much enjoyed, and we are learning a lot. But I have a little request, if it's not too much. If it's possible, can you please post the prayers that you do before you start the reciting the verses?
Good. Yeah, good.
The chapter, the beginning and the end of the chapter.
The invocation.
So, yeah.
Yes, because she has different invocations that she does, like,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think it
Sure, Mataji. Yeah.
very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Did you hear me, or should I repeat
Yes,
myself?
She did. She did.
Okay. Okay, no rush, Shruti. I know it's a lot because we have like 18 chapters, which but then for one chapter we say one verse. For whole, like, doesn't matter how many verse we have, we say one. So if whenever you have time, please, if you can just copy for us.
Yeah, nice point actually. Yeah.
Of course, Mataji. It's not a problem at all. Because the Sanskrit words with which I end every chapter, the words are all the same for every chapter, just that the number and the name of the chapter varies according to whichever we have just recited. So
Yes.
yes, of course, I'll share the recording in the group.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhu. Thank you.
Okay.
Nabi Prabhuji, I had one request as well. Is it possible for you to share the plant and the growth to
Yes.
Prema, just that particular one image?
Oh, the image itself. Yeah, of course. I can send that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments?
Hare
Hare Krishna. Vimo?
Krishna. Sorry again. Bit of more of an information actually. We discussed about Krishna, his extensions and demigods, and basically God concluded saying that the ultimate is me and Radha combined. Right? I always feel like when I hear about Gita and Krishna Avatar, I feel like Krishna himself has guided almost everywhere along with Gita and his examples. Where can I find more of a Mahima, I would say, of Radha and the combination of it?
You can in the Bhagavad Puran, what we gave you, the 10th canto. Oh, Radharani. Sorry, Radharani.
There's not much.
Yeah, she's very hidden. Krishna is hidden in the Vedas. You won't see Krishna's name too much. Bhagavad Gita is a summary of the Vedas. Krishna spoke it. So you'll get some information about Krishna. And then there's a lot more information about Krishna in the Bhagavad Puran. But otherwise, Krishna is quite hidden. Radha is completely hidden because she's so sacred, so important, that she is deeply hidden within Vedic tradition. So there's not a huge amount. But there is a book called the Caitanya Charitamrit. And the Caitanya Charitamrit is the postgraduate study. So you study the Gita first, then you study the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, and then you study the Caitanya Charitamrit. It's not that one can jump straight to Srimati Radharani. She's not that easy to understand. One has to go. Thank you, Shruti. Really appreciate coming on. And next week as well, if you're free on Friday, please. So it's actually very difficult to understand the internal energy of the Lord. This Hladini Shakti is one of the most hardest thing for us to understand. Krishna is hard to understand, but his form, his expansion, his energy as internal energy is even harder to understand. And it's very easy to misunderstand. Hence why one is recommended to go through the Bhagavad Gita, through the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, and then one comes to the Caitanya Charitamrit, and there is some information about Srimati Radharani. But going straight to Radharani, somehow or other, actually it will be misunderstood. We will not understand her. There's a process that one has to go through. Just like a surgeon has to go through the initial training, the initial studies, and then years and years of practice, exams, qualifications, and then eventually, when he's about 50, okay, maybe not 50, maybe 35, he'll have a patient on the surgical table that he can operate on. But it takes a long time to get there. Does that make sense, Bimal? Yeah. Thanks. She's very hard to understand. Very, very difficult to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I've also seen that kind of an example, or I would say Upadesh. I've never heard that this is an Upadesh from Radha Rani, or sort of way of living, or some sort of spiritual guidance from her as compared to Krishna.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, but actually, in one way, there's two meanings to the Gita even, and the Bhagavad Puran. See, the external meaning of Gita is that Krishna taught Arjun to fight, or instructed, guided him. But actually the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, the internal meaning is he gave Bhakti, and Bhakti is non-different from Srimati Radharani. So actually you can find Radha in the pages of Gita, because Krishna is talking about Bhakti throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Bhakti, Bhakti, Bhakti. And Bhakti is the same as Radha. So Radharani's instructions are throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Any bhakti that we're trying to do is actually because of Radharani. It's her instructions, it's her guidance. She's very, very, very kind.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
In the Bhagavad Puran, almost every word is considered to be Radha's words, because they're all about bhakti.
And also narrated by Sukdev Goswami, who's Radharani's spirit. So they're coming from the lips of Radharani, really.
But it takes time and takes some trouble to understand these things. And it's good. It's good if we can try to understand. It is very good to try to understand this. It takes time. Okay, thank you so much. If there's no other comments or Surinder Prabhu, anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhu, Nitai Gaura Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Right. So Sri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajiham. I offer my obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. So it is said, Sri Nityananda Prasade se Gaura Chandra Jani. And Sri Nityananda Prasade se Vaishnavere Chini. Sri Nityananda Prasade se Ninda Yara Kshaya. And Sri Nityananda Prasade se Vishnu Bhakti Hoya. And original of Vishnu is Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamam Bhajan. So we should surrender to and pray to Nitai Gauranga, Panchatarva, and chant Hare Krishna. This is the order of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Bhaja Krishna, Kaha Krishna, Raha Krishna Nam. And Nityananda Prabhu's instruction is Bhaja Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, Laha Gauranga Nam. So we have to follow both instructions. We have to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and also we have to Bhaja Gauranga, Kaha Gauranga, and Laha Gauranga Namre. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna combined. So in terms of teachings, Gauranga Mahaprabhu teaching is there. Teachings of Sri Caitanya. There is a book by Srila Prabhupada, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Radha Krishna. So we are getting the teachings from Radha Krishna combined, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. In this way, we can be benefited. And I would like to mention this is important. And also about the demigods. The demigods are Vaishnavas. So we can offer them respect and seek their blessing by singing Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Dayara Sagar Hidashe Karuna Kori. In this way, we can show some respect and seek their blessing to practice Krishna consciousness, to be able to worship Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Shamsundar without any offense, and so that we will properly serve Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Radha Shamsundar with love and devotion. We should chant Sudha Nam and practice Sudha Bhakti. This is our prayer and our aspiration. Nitai Gaur Haribol Prabhu, very nice.
Thank
I
you.
learned a lot in this program.
Thank you so much. Me too.
And you explain it very nicely, it's very clear. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Dandavad, Nitai Gaur Haribol.
Thank you so much, Surinder. Thank you for your feedback. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mr. Saha. Thank you so much. Very good.
Very, very nice, very interesting. Very benefit also.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Navi Prabhu, can I talk to you afterward, please?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Okay. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you, Surendraji. Thank you, Purnamataji, Bimo.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you're busy working, huh? And also, oops, hang on, let me just stop.